The Southern Vikings, he said, moving quickly on, the Southern Vikings live in a fortification. And this fortification is surrounded by a corrugated iron wall, and it is fringed delicately with barbed wire. And at the weekend, they had another run-in with the Lord, the Vikings. One of their number clobbered a policewoman. Brave boys. And when the police went to investigate, the Southern Vikings refused to open up, so the police rammed their way in. And to give you an idea of how tough the Vikings are, the local Mongrel mob, hardly hockey players themselves, know what I mean, the local Mongrel mob have asked the police to take a hard line with the Vikings. And the mob says if the police don't act, they'll do the job themselves. They'll bring the Vikings into line themselves. Thorny issue. Here's Mike Valentine risking life and limb.
It's the headquarters of the Vikings Motorcycle Club. Entry is by invitation or by search warrant. Behind the barbed wire, a white power mentality, a bunch of lawless hoods, provoking most of the trouble in the city.
Stay here. What's your thing, boy?
The target of the abuse, the once feared mongrel mob. Still no angels, but a gang which has swapped war for work schemes and work trusts. Even the police concede the mob has become more the aggrieved than the aggressor. These boys no longer look for trouble.
We've prided ourselves in being that since we've, in the last 3 years, our members have, none of our members have been to jail. So that in itself speaks for something. It's a vicious circle that we get into. So the sooner we break, I think we've broken that mould, we've broken that circle, and now we're no longer chasing our tails.
Staff were left cleaning up broken furniture after a scuffle between Southern Vikings motorcycle gang and the mongrel mob.
It's the very public side of a very vicious conflict. It's a conflict which in part is being fought in the streets.
Yesterday, 2 Southern Viking motorbikes were rammed, and police are treating today's attack as retaliation for that.
But behind the scenes, it's even more serious.
We realise that it is serious, and I think the gangs themselves realise that it is serious. That if it's not stopped, then something could really happen, or somebody could get badly hurt.
Or killed.
Or killed.
His name is Harry Tam, a mongrel mob member who's come close to being killed.
We're not particularly concerned about ourselves. I think when it comes to our families and our women, that I suppose, yeah, we would have some concerns.
In gang talk, it's called being staunch. But the fact is, in the last few months, Tam himself has been grazed by a bullet in a drive-by shooting. 3 other mob vehicles have been blasted in similar style. The gang headquarters has been shot at in broad daylight. There have been stabbings and attempted murder, all linked to the Vikings in this town.
Normally you expect fairly severe retaliation from the mongrel mob, and we've seen it in many places, Wairoa included. Why isn't that happening here?
Well, you know, like I said before, we don't see ourselves in a state of war. We claim our rights like everybody else, the right to defend ourselves. If we're under attack, we'll defend ourselves. And when they have attacked us, they have done very well.
A case in point, the mob shows the first signs of retaliation after a Maori associate was attacked by the Vikings in the street. Just over a week ago, the mob can afford a smile, and the Vikings can but hurl abuse. The mob have had the better of their day in court. In the corridor, they've thumped a Viking, and outside they stole a gang car and torched it. A case of taking the law into their own hands.
That car has been noted publicly to have been involved in a series of incidences where the police have pursued it on a number of occasions after attacks were made in the centre of town. The reason why the car hasn't been impounded till now has really amazed us, and certainly our members basically have had a guts full. They saw that as the very vehicle that assisted certain acts of violence to be carried out on people in general. They've been frustrated and seen that being continued and seized the opportunity to do the public a favour.
You've got to accept their word for that, and that he allegedly just saw the opportunity and decided that he would take it. I don't think you can blame the police for for being soft and not impounding the vehicle.
If the police aren't going to act, we will. I mean, we've got to. I mean, I mean, you ask yourself, I mean, you know, I mean, there's obviously a breakdown of law and order in this town and somebody's not doing anything about it. And it happens to affect people that we know.
A recent police raid on the Vikings headquarters, it nets an armoury of weapons, not to mention drugs. But the raids are rare. The police are taking a softly approach.
What we've attempted to do is get dialogue with both gangs and try and sort out what the problem is, what's causing this fighting in the streets, and see if we can stop it. I think first you have to try a negotiated settlement to something like this.
And if that doesn't work?
Then you look at other measures to do it.
But the voice of reason met an inevitable response over the weekend. A policewoman assaulted outside the gang's headquarters. Police had to force their way in. It now seems a tougher line is imminent. For the Mongrel mob, it's not before time. Among the mob, there's a growing frustration that the law is ineffectual, that by largely leaving it to the law, the gang will be seen as wimps. For 3 years, Dunedin has seen the constructive side to the mob, but the gang is facing mounting pressure from other chapters to hit back and hit back hard. The latest street retaliation clearly shows the time of reason is running out.
Mike Valentine in Dunedin. Next